Hello again and welcome to the Love Spoon Workshop. In today's video what we're following on by a little message that we were sent, and it's to do with the finish that you get off the scroll saw. Now somebody was asking, how do we go about finishing afterwards after we've worked with the scroll saw? What do we do? Do we have to do sanding? Do we have to use like the gouge and things like that? What methods do we do? So what we're sort of going through is how we actually get a good enough finish that you don't really need to do much after using the scroll saw. So the first thing we look at then is the blade that we actually use. And the blade that we use is a reverse tooth. And the reason for that, you say
when you actually look at the teeth, you've got the teeth at the top pointing down.
Yeah.
And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teeth at the bottom pointing the other way.
So that they're actually pointing in the wrong direction as you would line it up with the machine.
And so what happens, Dave, as that's cutting, so
those teeth get
those
ribbed.
are pointing down, but the others are pointing up.
Yeah.
So on the top surface and the bottom surface, the teeth are in the right direction
for the cut. So that's the first thing. And the other thing then that we use is a number 9. So that's the number of blade that we use for our Hegner scroll saw. And as I said, we do hundreds of hours of work with the scroll saw, and we generally find that the finish that it leaves is really nice finish.
Yeah, and it's it also we've found that the number 9 it works on mahogany and oak.
Yeah,
sufficiently.
And so another point that we're going to say about, because when we buy these blades and you change your blade, I just do it automatically. If you give me, say for instance, I've got 10 spoons to do and 2 are ash, 3 are oak and 5 are mahogany. Yeah. What I would do, and it's pure instinct, and it's only because Dad said you should mention this that I thought, right, I will mention this. It wouldn't have even been in my head. I would do the 2 ash spoons first.
Right.
I would then do the 3 oak spoons, and I would finish with the 5 mahogany spoons, because I find that's basically what I find cuts.
It's the nature of the timber.
It's the actual timber, and certain timbers cut better on the scroll saw than others. One timber that I always sort of watch out for, if I've got a batch of spoons and I've got one in there that's cherry, right, do the cherry spoon first.
Yeah, with a new blade.
With a brand new blade, ideally. Because that is the one that will burn the easiest. And what we're going to do as well, we take a couple of photos so you can see what the blade looks like when it's being used. You'll actually see it discolours. Yeah. Yeah. So as it's being used, that's a good sign, because if it's discoloured, it means that the blade hasn't snapped or anything like that.
And the problem is, if you get a burn on the wood, then you have to take time then with the chisel.
That's when, that's the only side with this, with what we're saying. If you do burn the wood, as you're saying, you have to carve it out, you have to sand it out, then you do start making work for yourself. But the scroll saw can save us a lot of time with finishing, because the Hegner scroll saw, using the number 9 blade reverse tooth, it saves us from having to fiddle around and finish after the scroll saw has done its job. That's what you're looking for, is to get a good enough cut that you don't have to then afterwards go over carving and things like that. So you're going to say.
Once we've said all that, the other thing, of course, that can cause it to burn, is that when you're cutting the scroll saw, on the scroll saw, you cut down the one line, but in this case we have a point. So if you try and turn the blade,
again, the back of
the blade could burn it. So when we're making that particular spoon, we sometimes cut down that way.
I'll show the camera so everyone can see. What we would do, we would cut down that way and then actually bring the blade back out and then turn the spoon round and cut that way. That's the method I would use.
Yeah. You can.
There's another little technique where you can cut in like that, and then you can just come back a little way, and then do the next one, come back a little way, do the next one. So there's all sorts of little techniques that you can use.
And you find the best method for yourself.
And you find what suits yourself. And I actually use both of those methods depending on what I'm actually doing. There was another point and it's gone out of my head.
The other one we're going to talk about is it's gone out of my head.
That was the other point I was going to make. Right, yeah. So, as we mentioned, we use a number 9, and it's that reverse tooth blade. We've tried the standard blade, does a decent job, but it's not as, we don't find it, for what we're doing, we don't find it as effective as that reverse tooth. The other thing as well, we did try with the spiral blades, and we found those weren't any good to us at all.
Yeah, we didn't enjoy using those.
They were hard to use, and they were slower, and generally just didn't work for us. So those were that was the other point that I was thinking of, was blades, explaining why we use this one. So yeah, what we do then, we demonstrate some different methods and some different cuts using the reverse blade, and then we take some photos as well, so you can actually see how fine a finish that the Hegner scroll saw using that number 9 reverse tooth blades to show what it leaves us. So we put 2 spoons on the machine itself, and it's just to show you the one that's closest to the blade. I've actually sanded the back of that, so as you can see, it's not rocking back and forth. That's something that I find can have a real impact on how well you actually manage to cut. The other has not been sanded, and as you should be able to see, it rocks back and forth. And that would be a lot more difficult. So one thing working with the scroll saw is if you can get the wood to lie flat on the bed, that should help. So as you can see, the method that we use, we cut into the point, we then come back just a little bit, and then start working towards the point, the next point. And then afterwards, all those little bits that are left over, we'll just turn it round, as you can see us demonstrating, and take off that little bit of wood that's left. The methods for the internal cuts, we are feeding the blade into the hole. We then again cut the shape to the edge of the point, reverse out slightly, and then join that point at the bottom as well, as you can see us demonstrating. Turn in the opposite direction, and again, you're working towards those different points. If you start to notice that you are getting burning of the wood when you're using the scroll saw and black lines, this is usually caused by one of 2 reasons. The first of these is that you're feeding the blade too quickly. You're feeding the wood through too quickly, and you need to slow down and let the blade do more of the work. Don't try and force the blade to cut too quickly. The other reason then, it's a good indicator that you need a new blade, and the blade that you're working with is starting to become blunt and it's not cutting as effectively. So if you see those lines starting to appear, it's time to change the blades. Hopefully some of those ideas are useful. What we're going to do now to finish off this video is to show you some photos of the love spoons that we've made using a combination of the scroll saw and then afterwards the hand gouges and chisels, just to show you how good the finish is off the scroll saw. Now the spoons, whilst we're using the hand gouges and chisels to do the detail on the front of the spoons, the shots of the side, that is directly finished off the scroll saw. So as you can see, a really nice clear finish. Thank you all again for watching. As always, we'll be back again soon with more videos. If you've got any questions, you want to ask us anything, feel free to put it in the comments section below. And we'll be back again soon with more videos.